Hi, folks. This is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. I try to, and I've mentioned this before, but I try to research and find as many things about fishing as I can that I can pass on to you that you might not know. And in many cases, I didn't know them before I was able to research them. Well, one of the things that I've been doing is watching some of the TV fishing shows that I really, as much as my life has been in doing a TV fishing show, I've never watched many of them. And I'm not sure of why, but that really doesn't matter. But this last weekend, there was a show. Bill Dance, who is one of the most famous TV fishermen there's ever been. He's getting pretty old now, but his show was different than any other that I'd seen, and he revealed a lot of facts about bass. Now, every species is different, and they're affected a little bit differently by a lot of things, but basic elements of what allows a fish to live correlates to just about every species. So here are some of the things, and I'm going to sort of read some of these off from a note I have, and it may not sound as smooth to you, but this is the best I can do, because I certainly am not going to remember all these facts and figures well enough to just ad-lib it. So one of the things that I found really interesting is bass, their eyes, they can receive 5 times more light than humans. We talk so much about the fish's senses, and we've talked about the sense of seeing, the sense of smelling, and so forth. Well, all these things are kind of covered, but they were blowing my mind as he uncovered these facts, because I wasn't aware of this. So, in other words, fish can really see, and I've told you before that they can see tiny things that would just look like specks to us, and yet they can differentiate shades and colors and styles and so forth. So that kind of goes along also that with smallmouth bass, if they can let in their eyes let in 5 times the light that humans do, that on sunny days, which all the pros claim, on sunny days, smallmouth fishing is better than it is on dull days, because they can see better. They can see all this. They can see 40 feet away, a tiny little insect, 40 feet away on a clear day. And so I think that is absolutely fascinating. The other thing is sunlight isn't harmful to them. In other words, we're warned all the time, we can't look up at the sun. It's going to blind us. It's going to do damage to our eyes, which it will. Not to a smallmouth. They can let in all this light, and it's not harmful because they have black pigment in their eyes, which must make it possible for them to stare at the sun if that was what they wanted to do. Another thing that I think is that this blew my mind. We talk and say, well, a lot of companies are building scents or putting scents into the lures so the fish can smell them and the fish will like them. We think, does really that make a difference or not? Well, listen to this. Fish can smell, and again, they were talking about bass. They can smell 8 times better. I don't mean they smell. They can receive the smell 8 times better than a dog. And we know dogs can smell things 100 times more than we can. Well, fish put them to shame. Fish can smell much better than a dog can. Again, fascinating. And maybe that's what makes the type of lures that I'm looking at right now more effective. And Berkley in particular has been famous for creating scents that they put into their baits that they swear will make fish bite better than they will other baits. Maybe that's true. The other thing, I've talked to you about muskies and how muskies, as vicious and as big and as strong as they are, they're really affected by the battles that they go into with us. We hook a muskie, and if we fight it too long, its muscles will produce so much lactic acid that it will put it in shock, and it makes it very hard for it to survive. Well, the same thing happens with bass. And so, and probably every fish to one degree or another. So what it tells us is, As much as we love, and as a kid, I loved the rod to double over, the fish to come jumping out of the water, and the longer the battle, the better. Well, not so, because it kills the fish, and it's something we should be really aware of. Now, I've got a lot of other things that I want to tell you, and I'm going to save it for another report, but I think this is really interesting, and I want you to realize I wouldn't have known these things either if I hadn't seen it or read it from someplace else, and I'll always tell you where I get this information, if I can. And this was from the Bill Dance Show. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.